In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. The title of this presentation is The Mercy of Allah God in the Color of Human Skin. Now I will show in this presentation the mercy of Allah God Almighty in the differences in the dark and light colors of human skin. Now, you will see, brothers and sisters, that all of this creation around us is based on mercy, and then comes the knowledge of Allah God Almighty to translate this mercy into a created object. So to start with the mercy requirement, the human skin, the color of the human skin. Now the mercy requires in the creation of human body that in the hot regions a mechanism should exist that will reduce the absorption of the sun rays in the skin to prevent skin burns from happening. The mercy also requires that the absorption of sun rays should increase in cold regions to produce vitamin D, which is needed for the function of a healthy body. So when Allah Almighty wanted to create the human body, the mercy requires that in hot regions where we have a large kind of exposure to sun rays, there should be a mechanism which reduces the absorption of electromagnetic energy in collagen molecules, because when the collagen molecules absorb energy, they get excited and they energize production of vitamin D and other hormones, and they can become irritated and skin burns can occur. Now the opposite in cold regions where there is a low density of sun energy, and there should be a mechanism that increases the absorption of sun rays in collagen molecules and in the deeper layers of the skin to produce vitamin D, which is essential for healthy function of the body. Now let's see how the knowledge of Allah God Almighty comes to show this mercy requirement into a created object. Now, the knowledge of Allah God shows this mercy requirement in the fact that He placed a dye inserted glands within the human skin, such that these glands would secrete this dye according to the concentration of sun rays falling onto them, such that in hot regions where the concentration of sun rays is large, these glands secrete this dye and the color of the skin darkens, changes to a dark one. And this is out of the mercy of Allah God Almighty, such that this dye reduces the amount of absorption of sun rays in the inner layers of the skin, because it represents a barrier between the sun and the inner layers of the skin. This mechanism eliminates the risk of skin burns. So this dye, because it's dark color, it absorbs most of the sun rays, most of sun energy, the electromagnetic radiation, which, because it absorbs so much, the amount of energy left for other collagen molecules is so little, and it's in the perfect proportions for the production of vitamin D in the right amounts of the human body, and in preventing skin irritations and burns. It is also noticeable that as a general rule in hot regions the color of human skin is dark, and this is to protect the skin from being burnt by the sun. Also, the secretion of vitamin D would be proportional to the amount of sunlight in such regions. So in hot regions we see that Allah God Almighty made the skin color is dark out of His mercy, because this dye in the skin would absorb much of the light energy, and thus the amount left would be in perfect proportions to be absorbed by collagen molecules, not causing irritation and skin burns, and producing vitamin D and hormones in just the right proportions. Now the exact opposite occurs in cold regions where there is a smaller concentration of sunlight. The glands do not secrete their dye that much, and consequently the color of the skin would be light. Thus there would be a large absorption of sunlight, and vitamin D production would be adequate for the healthy human body. So it's also noticeable as a general rule in cold regions that the color of human skin is light, and that is to increase the amount of absorption of sunlight in collagen molecules, because there is very little dye in the skin, such that vitamin D production would be proportional to the amount of incident sunlight in those regions. So in cold regions we see that the color of the skin is light, again out of the mercy of Allah God Almighty, because the dye, this dark dye, its concentration is very small, and thus the majority of sunlight in those regions is absorbed by collagen molecules to stimulate the production of vitamin D and other hormones. So this barrier, this dark barrier, is far less. So you see, brothers and sisters, how the mercy requirement by the knowledge of Allah God Almighty is translated into a created object. Here we have the skin. So the changes, to summarize here, the changes in the skin color is out of the mercy of Allah God Almighty, and the dye, it acts like a barrier to increase or decrease the amount of sun absorbed by collagen molecules in the human skin. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zaidquran@gmail.com, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.